All right, welcome everyone. Just wanted to welcome you to our next event within our virtual Family Appreciation Week. This will be a lunchtime chat with our Director of Student Involvement, Quantá Taylor. Wanted to say a few notes before we get started. As you see on the screen there, today we're going to record this so that you all can connect with it, and we'll post it later on our various platforms and content. As you pop in, feel free to utilize the chat box. Introduce yourself, name, city, region, your student classification. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat function. Myself or Katie or Priscilla will help ensure your question is answered. So without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to the Director of Student Involvement here at the University of Louisville, and Quante will share with you ways for your students to get connected here on our campus. Thank you all.
Glenn, thank you so much for having me. To Katie and Priscilla, who are also on this team, thank you to the Parent Association for giving me an opportunity to talk with parents today. Good afternoon, Quantá Taylor. I do have the wonderful opportunity of serving as the Director of Student Involvement. And today we're going to talk a little bit about your student's Cardinal experience. And I use that phrase as a way to communicate that each student's experience is different. And we want to be mindful of how we can create that, but talk about the many opportunities that we have on our campus to foster involvement and create a sense of community here. So today we'll talk a little bit about who I am. I am new to the Cardinal family, so I like to have that conversation early on, just so as I'm embracing and learning. I appreciate having this as a part of my early learning and onboarding to understand what the University of Louisville is, how we operate, but also how parents are engaged in supporting their student. We'll have a further conversation about what is involvement, because it takes so many different shapes. You may not think of that involvement, but we are intentional in realizing that involvement means different things to different peoples, and the investment of psychological, physical time and energy is important for us to acknowledge that as well. We'll have a little bit about when involvement occurs and how to make sure that involvement doesn't overcome your student's experience, but it's a complement to that. And then we'll end today's chat with why involvement matters. And I call those cues final thoughts. And they're just 5 points that I want you to remember of what's going on. So to provide you a little bit about me, I am a Kentucky native. So I grew up in Lexington. I'm a Bryan Station High School grad, spent the first 22 years of my life in Kentucky, working with a number of different experiences. My undergraduate degree is from Transylvania University, where I majored in cultural relations and psychology. I then went to The Ohio State University to pursue a master's in higher education, and then finishing up my doctoral work in higher education administration, also at Ohio State. Professionally, I've had a number of great opportunities, both within the Commonwealth and outside of it. I always say that my growth and maturity became and was nurtured through my work with the Governor's Scholars Program, which is one of the premier programs in the country, and also a big part of the Commonwealth as we prepare students to go on to college. I started at Ohio State. I served as the coordinator of graduate and professional student programming, which focuses on those students who are pursuing degrees post-baccalaureate and making sure they are still supported and adjusting to the needs of a graduate student environment. And then served as an assistant director of campus programming with responsibilities for orientation. So I've been fortunate enough to work on orientation programs both domestically and internationally. Outside of my work on campus, I have major involvement with two associations, which also focus on the student experience. And I think about this as well because the student experience doesn't just exist at Louisville. We have to think about what's it mean to be compared to other institutions. We want to be mindful of we are being competitive. We are being mindful of the Cardinal experience being equitable or better than peers and aspirational institutions. So being able to have conversations among and between institutions is really important. So I serve as the co-chair for student participation and leadership for the National Conference on Race and Ethnicity in American Higher Education. And here we talk about historically minoritized populations and the way that they show up on our campuses and how campuses are changing and shifting to be able to adjust and adapt to the needs of students. We know that many students are first generation. We know there's a changing shift in our student demographics. We know that parents are coming back as children, with children, as veterans, and how are we able to shape and meet the needs of the collegiate experience to do those. And then I also serve on the board for the National Association for Campus Activities, which talks about involvement all day, every day. And it's just a great opportunity to come together and brainstorm and, hey, I'm having this issue on my campus. How are we able to navigate that space? When When we talk about specialized interests, I think this is the stuff that gets me really excited, and there's always three of those. First is foremost is student involvement. The engagement of a student is so important to us. Students spend about 75% of their time outside of the classroom, so therefore how are we having them make the most of the time they're spending on campus is important. Secondly, I have interest in legal issues in higher education. We are forever changing, and as a microcosm of society, we have to be very mindful of what this means and what this looks like for us in doing that. And then the third one is constructed spaces. So when we say that the student activity centers is your home, what does that mean? What is the intentionality to say students feel seen, represented, heard, but also those places serve as places for connections for Cardinals past, present, and future. So those conversations also exciting. Let's talk a little bit about what student involvement is. So people ask me what I do. My mother still doesn't know, and I've been doing this for about 12 years now, but student involvement is the outside experience of that. Here at the University of Louisville, we define that in these 7 ways that are on the screen right now. And I'll talk a little bit about each of them just as a way to talk about what this means. So campus programs is our student activities board. They're responsible for over 250 programs, ranging from weekly movie series to concerts and lectures on campus. They do a number of programs to support our commuter students, our first generation students, and things of that nature. So these are opportunities for one-time touch points that have them an opportunity to go. It is my goal that when a student graduates from the University of Louisville, they have attended an SAV program that was meaningful for them. So they got to see their favorite concert artist. They got to attend a lecture with someone they looked up to for a while. This program during finals reading day was extremely helpful for me getting through that time, and that is what we're fortunate for. For fraternity and sorority life, we're fortunate enough to have 33 chapters managed by 3 councils. So we have the Panhellenic Association, the National Panhellenic Association, and the Interfraternity Council, which opportunities for those exist all throughout the year. These are opportunities for students to come together for social connections with a sisterhood or a brotherhood, but have a commitment to service, academic achievement, and investment in the community. I love when a student comes in and like, hey, I'm a member of this organization, and I met an alumni who came and was a part of the organization 25 years ago, and I now have an internship with these. So the ability to have legacy conversations and the benefits of fraternity and sorority life is probably one of the richest parts of that community. New in the fall, we'll be launching a lot of initiatives focused on off-campus community and transfer students. No matter how you engage in the Cardinal experience, we want to make sure that it's an opportunity for you to be successful here. Success is defined as you being able to get your degree completed. Knowing that our students who are living in the off-campus community may commute to campus or did not begin their Cardinal experience at the University of Louisville, we want to make sure that we are intentional and effortful in creating space and opportunity for those students to be successful. One of the interesting part of our jobs is our International Service Learning Program, and this is an opportunity for us to connect curricular involvement with travel. ISLP, as we call it, takes about 10 trips a year to destinations all over the world, and when students are taking curricular concepts that they're learning. So the College of Dentistry does a trip to Belize, and they're doing a dental clinic for students there. We're working on a trip right now to Costa Rica to talk about water purification. So students are in the biology classes and are talking about what that means. So it's a great opportunity to talk about scale and scope of what involvement can look like, not just here at home or in the classroom, but on an international impact level. At the University of Louisville, we have about 450 registered student organizations. These organizations register to be a part of our community, and in that we're able to provide them resources to sustain their communities. These clubs can be Journalism Society, they can be the Ukulele Club, they can be the Pizza Eater Society of the world. But in this, there are students who come together to be able to have a common purpose, a common interest, and want to discuss that. I always appreciate this as an opportunity for us to build and elevate our community and what we cannot do. When we talk about meaning outside of the community of Louisville, we want to get invested in the city of Louisville and the university. So therefore, community and civic engagement is important to us. These can be one-time service opportunities. These can be, I'm looking to do service every Thursday from 3 to 7 p.m. Can your office help me and facilitate me with finding an opportunity? The answer is going to be yes. Also in this opportunity, we have what we call our Cardinal Cupboard program, which is our campus food pantry. Food insecurity is continuing to grow amongst college students. So we have been able to have some amazing partnerships with Commonwealth Credit Union and other partners to develop a pantry where students who are in need can access those resources. And lastly, I talk about leadership development. We know that students are doing a lot. We want to be able to provide them with the skills, experiences, and opportunities so they can leverage that experience and talk about it in their interview or talk about it as they are pursuing that job. And what does that mean? So we talk about, here are my strengths, here are my areas of development, here's my personality assessments, here's my role in service, and what's it mean to be a positional leader, but what's it also mean for us to serve in other capacities within the organization. So this is my shop. I enjoy it. These are the things we have. The crew that gets together and working and creating these events is phenomenal, and I am thankful and grateful to be able to do that. But this is what I talk about in student involvement. Some people don't understand that me being the positional leader of the ukulele club, that is value, that is compliment, that is an opportunity there. When I say like, hey, I can identify my top 5 strengths as a student leader, and this is how it helped me be an asset to your business, that is involvement. We want you to think about that. So these are a lot, and I'm sure we often get the conversation, I don't have time for involvement, or what does it mean, or how do I fit into my schedule? I'm sure all of you all are familiar with our friend Louie. I love Louie. I have not had an opportunity to take a picture with Louie yet, so that's something I am still waiting to check off my bucket list. But I'm going to use Louie's schedule as an opportunity to talk about what this means for us and how we see involvement happening. So if we look at Louis' schedule, there's 24 hours in a day, there's 7 days a week, and we have to be mindful of all the things. So as we go through the next couple of slides, we'll talk to, here's the things that are important to a student's experience, and we'll end with how does involvement happen. So sleep is important. So I've added in 8 hours of sleep for our students. We understand that sleep is a time to recharge, to breathe, to take care of yourself. So I want to be mindful of that. Understanding that this may fluctuate, that this may be something that, hey, I'm doing 6 hours during the week and catching up on sleep during the weekend. A typical student is able to achieve 8 hours of sleep, so we want to be mindful of those pieces. In that, I want the students to be able to eat. So I enjoy food. Food is communal for me. It's an opportunity to see and catch up with people. It's an opportunity to de-stress and just be able to do that. So we've added in an hour for breakfast, lunch, and dinner just to be able to do that. I always think it's funny when I do this presentation, I put dinner at 5 p.m. I don't know when's the last time I had dinner at 5 p.m. But again, this will change depending on who you are, but this is just an illustration of how involvement happens. So we've slept, we've ate. Your student is a student. I put in 15 credit hours here, which may be a typical credit load. You never know what that may be, and this is average for students across the country. So 15 credit hours is going to be important. So those are already on our schedule. The research tells us that for every 1 credit hour you're in class, you should be studying for 2 hours. So the green boxes represent that 2 hours. So there's 30 hours of class prep time. I don't just say studying, I say class prep. This can be reviewing notes. This is going to your professor's office hours. This is meeting with your group to process, work on that project, those type of things. But this is prepping you for that next class. So we've slept, we've ate, we've gone to class, we've studied. Understanding that some of our students may have to put themselves through college and support that, I've added in the yellow boxes to represent them working a job. There's 10 hours a week of them supporting themselves, whether that is my gas money, I have a shopping habit, so I need to be able to support those type of things. I want to be mindful of that. So 10 hours a week doing that. In our office and with the Division of Student Affairs, on-campus employment is a form of involvement. It is not managed by our office, but it is intentional because we have conversations with supervisors on how are we having our students maximize that experience for them to be created and great for the next level. So we've slept, we've ate, we've gone to class, we have studied, we have worked our on-campus job. I am now going to give you 30 hours to do nothing. And I say this for your student schedule, so I make you study for 30 hours. I'm giving you 30 hours to have free time. Now, when I say do nothing, that doesn't mean they're doing nothing. This could be time to go to the recreational center for a workout, or to play an intramural sport, or to be able to just sit back and breathe, or they're going to go and they have a passion, so they work on a podcast or something of the nature. But there's 30 hours in the week that is open for them to be able to create that involvement. So what I say, when you look at these white boxes, there are 10 hours that are not accounted for. That is when the opportunities for involvement can happen. This is when we are encouraging your students to attend that campus event, go to that organizational meeting, be a part of the fraternity and sorority community that may have an event that evening, volunteer at your local animal shelter to be able to fill that last 10 hours. It's not something that should take over your time, but it should be a part of what we identify as your Cardinal experience. So again, this represents the amount of time that a student has in an average week, and we've accounted for sleeping and eating and going to class and studying and working a job and just relaxing, and you still have time to be involved. So when I tell you that, I leave you with these final thoughts, and then we'll open up for some questions as we go on. But involvement is the meaning-making filter for your students' Cardinal experience. They are having amazing experiences in the classroom. In their involvement, they get to place that into action. They get to learn those social skills and complementary skills that allows them to be successful in that. Involvement should occur in three ways, in my opinion. I want you to have an academic involvement. So if you are an English major, I want you to be a part of the journalism club. If you are interested in sports management, I want you to be officiating with our intramural program. So be mindful of an academic connection, a social connection. Students' relationships in college are probably some of the most meaningful they'll be able to develop. So this can be something that I am passionate about, an interest that I have. So there's a group here that focuses on traveling. If that is where you are, find that connection. But then I also want you to have an involvement that allows you to do wellness, which allows you to de-stress and be yourself and just disconnect from the hustle and bustle of the world in a safe and comfortable environment. Involvement doesn't have to have a lot of time components. It can be something that is one time, or it can be something that is reoccurring. And the beauty of the way that our office is set up is that we can provide you both of those. Hey, I'm interested in doing a one-time service project, so Soul may be the event for you. Or I'm interested in engaging in continual community service, so our Engage Lead Serve Board may be a better opportunity for you to have continual involvement. The research tells us, and as a scholar practitioner, I say the involvement matters. Students who are involved are able to manage their time better. They build better relationships. They are able to make connections and become more marketable because they don't just talk about, oh, I have a 3.9 GPA. Yes, I had a 3.9 GPA. I also served as the president of my chapter while doing an international study learning program to be able to talk about what my holistic Cardinal student experience was. And that is important for us. And involvement exists throughout campus, and I want you to be able to define what that means for you. I am not naive in saying that involvement has to occur in my office. There are students that will be involved with the Department of Residential Education because they are an RA. There are students who work in intramural sports. There are students who are working in the library. That is involvement. That is a meaning-making experience for you that you are using to complement their students' experience. So as you talk to them, yes, we want them to get good grades. Yes, we want them to go to class. Yes, we want them to take advantages of the benefits that are going to be there. They're already paying for a number of the experiences that I've talked about, so we want them to take advantage of it to help them become a little bit more marketable and successful in the work that they're doing. I don't enjoy talking a lot, so this was a lot for me to just sit here and talk with you. So I'm going to stop my presentation now and entertain some questions at this point in time. Looking forward to hearing what you all have to say or questions that I can provide for you all.
Actually, Quante, can you go back to that, share that screen and go back to your original, like, hub and spoke wheel? And
Oh,
just maybe
yes.
kind of leave that on.
Sure.
Because we've got some questions that we generally see from parent and family members, and some that had sent in some questions beforehand
Sure.
that we wanted to ask you if that's okay. But I thought that might be a good visual as we frame things.
Absolutely. So you asked me for stuff. I'm like, I'm technology inclined right now, so I have to do it the old-fashioned way of being able to do that. So yeah,
Right.
Glenn, what's up?
Perfect. So, a couple questions that we see sometimes. One, a fairly easy one. How can a student learn more about how to get involved, and where are you all on campus, and how can they come see you all?
Absolutely. Sorry that my screen is acting up right now. That
Oh, you're
is weird.
fine.
But I will answer that question as well. So we are happily located on the third floor of the Student Activity Center. So when you come to campus, it's kind of hard to miss the clock tower that is the shining focal point of the SAC. So on the third floor, that is where you can find our team in there. And in that, it's a great partnership with the SAC. I don't think that we exist in a silo. I think that we get to exist in a function that is important for us. So being in the SAC provides us opportunity to have meeting spaces, event spaces, there's food facilities in there, and that's intentional in design of being able to facilitate, hey, I can grab dinner and attend a meeting at the same time. So therefore, we're not competing in issues. No, we try to be intentional in our design of this space has been created for all parts of the student involvement to be considered.
Yeah, and that's awesome, and that's also why I wanted to have this slide up to let folks see how many different types of things you all connect to outside of a student's academic life. And one of those things you mentioned are RSOs, registered student organizations.
Sure.
It might be helpful. You mentioned ukulele club and the what was the pizza eaters club. How many do we have? Because I know we have a lot, and explain that. And if there isn't one that is of their interest, what they could do.
Absolutely. So yeah, there are 423 when we counted yesterday. So that
Wow.
was that is where we are. And I think that's a great sign. So I think that we as a university are intentional in providing a number of structures and opportunities. Student organizations allow us to do other things that we can't be able to do. It is that peer-to-peer connection is an opportunity to do that. Julie in our office is our assistant director that supports our student organizations. So if a student organization does not, if a student can't find an organization, I'm gonna be like, hey, talk to Julie. We also have our student organization advisory board who are there to help students find those opportunities as well. In our Engage platform, which is something that students were able to talk through and set up a platform, there's a keyword search feature. So, hey, I am interested in magic. If you search magic in there, any club that is related to magic will be able to pop up. We're developing that system to be able to host the primary contact for that organization. So, hey, I'm interested in the Magic Society. Here's Glenn's contact information. You can email Glenn to, hey, when is your next meeting? Those type of opportunities. So it is everywhere that's going to be there. Julie's our point person in our office. Our email address is simple. It's involved at louisville.edu. And in that process, if you reach out, of you and or your student reaches out of, I'm trying to find this opportunity, how can you connect me? We're happy to facilitate that first connection for you.
Gotcha. Thank you. As I look at this wheel as well, you had mentioned it that you have connectivity for students who are off campus or transfer students, commuter students,
Sure.
and you mentioned the commuter lounge. Could you explain a little bit about that and some other things you think would be helpful to commuter students?
Absolutely. So commuter students are a population that is important to the university. It's so important that we have identified them as a strategic initiative for the university in making sure they are recruited, retained, and supported through their collegiate career while at the University of Louisville. Again, a great partnership with the Student Activity Center is on the second floor. There is a commuter student lounge. We are currently in the process of thinking about how do we make this place better serve students. But what we see that as an opportunity for, I have a break in between classes. So Chem 101 was at 9:10. My next class is until 1:15. How am I able to come together and just have a spot where I can be me? This lounge is for that. Or, hey, I made my dinner at home. Is there a place for me to store that and reheat it and be able to have a hot meal and not eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for 2 weeks straight? Yes, there's a refrigerator and a microwave in that space. Our coordinator for commuter off-campus and transfer students will be doing programming. There will also be a resource wall going into that space. So, hey, I need some academic tutoring, where here's the opportunity for you to connect with Reach to be able to receive those programs and things of that nature. So it is a dynamic space, it's an ever-changing space. As we talk about the shift in college demographics, commuter students are a part of that shift, and we have to be mindful of that and what that looks like. We're also trying to be mindful of creating more daytime engagement opportunities because commuter students may only be on campus from 11 to 3. So how are we still maximizing their engagement of like, hey, I can't come back, and negotiating what that means for us, because just as any other student, they are paying for these services and resources. So how are we being intentional and making sure they can take advantage of it? There'll be some programs that we come back. I have a colleague that prior to his retirement did coffee and donuts on Tuesday mornings. I'm excited for a post-COVID time where we can gather together in the Red Barn and have coffee and donuts and be able to share those opportunities for commuter students to connect. I'm excited with this being new, the intentionality that we're going to put into this program in supporting those students who are in the off-campus community who may be commuting or did not begin their collegiate experience at the University of Louisville is going to be great. It's a launching point for a centralized approach to supporting those students. So there's a lot of potential here.
Awesome, awesome. And just in case the student does want to have peanut butter and jelly every day, they can go over to the Ville Grill because there's always peanut butter and jelly offered over there for lunch. So, just as a promo there and see the new renovated Ville Grill upstairs space and all that fun stuff. So,
Absolutely.
a couple other things. One of the traditional things sometimes people think of with student involvement, student activities is fraternity and sorority life. I didn't know if you could mention how many chapters exist on campus, and then explain any ways to connect with that component of student involvement.
Absolutely. We currently have 33 organizations on campus. I'm going to see if I can do the math right. This is putting me to test on my 6th week on the job. So let's see if we can make this happen. I have 12 organizations that are a part of the Panhellenic Association, which are historically women organizations. We have all divine 9 organizations or the members of the National Panhellenic Council. And then there are 11 members of the Interfraternity Council on our campus in there. Recruitment for each of those organization types look very different. Our NPAC organizations will do opportunities in the fall and the spring. IFC has a rolling recruitment process, so therefore they can do a rush of recruitment anytime throughout the academic year. For our Panhellenic women, they have a more centralized process that normally occurs within the first 2 or 3 weeks of being on campus. Again, SFL at louisville.edu is a great way to just get information in there. Welcome Week, we'll do a couple of Meet the Greeks events, which is a great opportunity to be able to connect with chapters, see what's out there, understand those opportunities as well.
And as we always say during Welcome Week, it's not just for new freshmen and new transfer students. Any of our current students can connect, especially due to pandemic, since so many may need to reconnect back to our campus. It's a great way. So we invite you, parent and family members, to encourage your students to come connect with many of the events during Welcome Week, which is always at the beginning of the fall semester. Just a few more, Quantá.
Sure.
So two of your spokes on this hub, civic and community engagement and international service learning program.
Yeah.
I wanted to have you just touch on those for a second, and especially highlight International Service Learning Program, or ISLP as we call it on
Sure.
campus, and show that it's different than studying abroad, and it has still that service component and function, but show ways that they could potentially get involved.
Absolutely. So ISLP is probably one of the first programs that we're excited to get back. It's probably been one of the hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic in our office. International travel is one of the immediate things that happened. I was at a prior institution we went into COVID, but I met Caleb, who's our director of ISLP in Belize, bringing students back from an experience. So ISLP is a wonderful opportunity to connect service and curricular involvement. And in that, it is amazing to think about what that means. So we try to send out trips 4 times a year, over winter break, over spring break, and then we say early summer and late summer is how we're classifying them in our office. And those trips go all over the world. So we have been in the Philippines, we've been in Trinidad and Tobago, we've been in Belize, we're talking about Costa Rica, we've been to Ghana, we have been to Tanzania. There are so many opportunities in that, but it's not a study abroad experience. These are short immersive experiences. So we talk about 7 to 10 days in country in which you're having high impact, high touch programs with students. For those of you that may remember a traditional study abroad experience, you're in a country for 14 weeks. You may be taking classes, but there's free time and structured time to do that. In the International Service Learning Program, there's an opportunity for you to be hey, I'm spending 7 days straight working with school-aged children in the Philippines, helping them learn their English skills. So therefore, it's a partnership with that school in that community. You get to learn the children that you're working with. You get to talk with the teachers that are there. You get to be a part of that community and go to festivals and dinners and be invited and embraced by that. So, and understanding that full-time study abroad is unrealistic for folks. Some people can't afford to be off from work for 14 weeks. Some people can't fit in their course load to be gone. So ISLP is an opportunity to provide that opportunity at a minimal level to what we're doing, to be very mindful of what that looks like. In community and civic engagement, there are a number of opportunities to connect outside the city of outside the university to the city of Louisville. As we know, U of L is great, and a part of that greatness is the city that we're nestled in, and our benefits to be able to capitalize and utilize other resources to create internships and service programs and show that, hey, university is not just in Louisville, it's a part of Louisville. And therefore, Louisville's success, Louisville's development, Louisville's growth is a facilitator of the University of Louisville, and we are committed to being a part of that. I think one of the best parts of President Bendapudi has been her commitment to being present in the city, not just the quadrants of campus that we occupy. So being able to be invested and connected to our city is really important.
That's awesome because I know, once we are able to do more, you got alternative spring break trips that go domestically across the United States. And I'm glad you did a little more in-depth explanation of ISLP because, yes, we have a great partner with study abroad components on campus to really give students, if they want to do study abroad for a full half a semester, we have an office on campus that connects with that. Or if they want to connect with your office and do a more intensive 7 to 10 day experience, have a service component connected to it while seeing another country and connecting as well. So I'm glad you explained that. And so last two questions we'll come
Sure.
down to really. We see that that whole spoke on leadership development. Just talk about a few things of what you all mean by that,
Sure.
and what are ways at different levels of their college career that they could build their leadership development skills.
Absolutely. So leadership in our perspective is a verb. It is an action. And when do you get that? So Glenn made the point of it's never too late to join a fraternity and sorority life. It is never too late to be able to develop those leadership skills. Intentionally in our office, we have programs centered around the first and second year experiences, aligning with the live on requirement that is happening and understanding those students are important to engage and support and set off on a right track. But in that leadership development, we do a number of the assessments of leadership traits. So some of you may be familiar with the Myers-Briggs or Strengths Quest or those type of opportunities. We can facilitate those. But what I mean by the development piece is I'm not going to give you a printout of here's what they are, go figure it out. We talk about how do you do this. So, hey, Quantá, you're strategic. How do you use your strategy as serving as the director of student involvement? What does that mean for you and how do you operationalize that? So it's a conversation of this. I also talk about leadership development as I see this as the building blocks to your student experience. I do not think that you have to be involved in something that you were as a freshman. You have to be involved at your senior year. Your ability to navigate, to pick and choose, and to be like, hey, I started off as a general member in this organization. I became a community liaison for this one. Now I'm serving as a treasurer. That is leadership and development and growth. You have been able to focus on skills, training, and development to be able to help you navigate that. Leadership development is also offered at the individual and the organizational wide. So, hey, we are preparing for transitions for our executive boards. Can you come in and facilitate some trainings for us on those processes? Yes, we can. Or, hey, my name is Quantá. I am interested in being able to talk about my Myers-Briggs assessment. Can you help me through that? Or, hey, I'm interested in getting connected on campus and being able to develop some leadership skills. What opportunities do you have? We'll have some retreats in the fall and spring when we can meet again. We'll have structured opportunities through cohort groups, and there'll be one-off opportunities for you to come and just attend a workshop to be able to develop those skills as well.
Awesome. So one of the last things we have had questions about and often get questions about is the phenomenal service that ELSB created with the Cardinal Cupboard food pantry.
Yeah.
Just to explain that a little bit more, how students can access and what its structure is, where it is, those types of things.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna keep doing this because I think it is an intentionality to the partnership that we have. But the Cardinal Cupboard is also located on the third floor of the Student Activity Center, and in that, again, food insecurity is continuing to go across the country. We also know that our college students may be may be affected by that. So how are we able to reduce this? So our Cardinal Cupboard has grown from a cubby to a two meeting room storefront that's going to be on the third floor of the Student Activity Center. And in that is an opportunity for students to come in, no questions asked, and be able to get nourishment. So it can be pasta, it can be breads, it can be fresh fruit and produce, it can be meats and things of that nature to be able to sustain them. We've been fortunate enough to have a relationship with Commonwealth Credit Union and Kroger to develop that program to meet our needs. Through some innovation, we're also working through using some spaces on campus to do some after hours pickup because we never know when that student may have that need. So we are going to use some lockers that we have that can be an on-demand pickup, or there's some packaged bags of goods that students can just text us like, hey, I'm at locker 27. Can I get the combination to get food? Absolutely. Go from there, grab that. Addressing food insecurity is nothing that should be ashamed of. as we talk about and as we see commercials for No Kid Hungry, it affects K through 12. No, it affects 13 through 17 as well. We're talking grade levels. So being able to make sure that our students are being nourished to show up the best that they can in the academic spaces and in the curricular opportunities is important for us. And we're thankful for the growth of Cardinal Cupboard, the investment from community and campus partners in sustaining that organization and making sure that students have resources to be able to be sustained in their lives.
Thank you. I mean, it's such an important one, and I know you're proud of the fact that they were able to keep the Cardinal Cupboard open the entire time during the pandemic, their
Absolutely.
partnership with the Student Activity Center, so that when someone needed it, they had the opportunity, especially in such an even more trying time. So it's really a great benefit, and we definitely want that as a piece that parent family members know that their students have that option if needed. So
Absolutely.
I
For
think
parents
that
who
that
maybe
wraps us up there.
yeah, I'm gonna add one
What's
more
that?
point. So, like for parents that also may be faculty and staff members, it's also available to faculty and staff on campus as well. So it is
Correct.
not just a student-centered initiative; it is promoting for the campus community. So I will always plug that as well, just because there's opportunities, and again, there may be parents who are employees. So I want to plug that as an opportunity to connect there. But yes, I appreciate the commitment and the buy-in from the Division of Student Affairs, particularly Glenn and his staff with the SAC, to make sure that this happened. There were a number of things that we chose not to shut down during the pandemic because of their essential function and support of students, and this is one of them. So grateful for those partnerships.
And not only that, our campus has responded really strongly to this. I know the staff senate and the faculty senate have done really great jobs of continuing food drive support and
Sure.
continuing gift card support to Kroger and things like that. So oftentimes our campus community has really rallied around this and done a great job in providing
It takes a
support there.
village. Hmm.
It does. It does. Well, Quante, I think that's kind of wrap us up. And I just want to say thank you for spending the time to help our parent and family members understand ways to get involved.
Sure.
And that hub and spoke was perfect because that really helped frame a reference connection. And one of the last pieces of the spoke that is unspoken but is there is the campus programs, and because of your staff and all the different things that you all do. And I know we might have went acronym heavy with SAB, Student Activities Board, ELSB, Engage, Lead, Serve Board, SOAB, Student Organizations Activity
Uh-huh.
Board. All three of those are major programming arms run by students that you
Hmm.
all train and you all connect with and you all engage with. And they are key pieces of all these campus programs. They're really a lot of the social lifeblood of our campus. And,
Absolutely.
and we wanted to thank you for everything that you all do. And if our parents and families have questions, you can always go to Quante and his staff and reach out and connect. So with
Absolutely.
that, I think we're going to close it out. And we will, as I said, we have recorded this, so we will put this up as a linkable presentation so that you all can access it at any time. So I want to
Awesome.
say thank you, Quante, and you all enjoy yourselves, and hopefully you connect with a few more of the remaining pieces of the virtual Family Appreciation Week.
Awesome. Thanks, Glenn. Go Cards.
Yep, go Cards.